Ever see a video of a content creator standing on the front of their kayak, like rocking it back and forth and be like, oh man, this kayak's so stable? If you're one of those content creators that does that, stop it. All right. Your ability to go to the front of your kayak and rock it back and forth has very little to do with the stability of the kayak. It has everything to do with your balance. It'd be like watching a tightrope walker go out on his rope, kind of wiggle it back and forth and be like, oh man, this rope is so stable. It has nothing to do with the rope, but everything to do with the balance of that tightrope walker. So how stable are fishing kayaks is one of the number one questions typed into Google around the topic of kayak fishing. And there's several elements that will play into how stable a kayak is or how stable a kayak is not. And I want to share those with you so you can find the kayak that will best fit your needs. First, let's talk about the hull design. This will play a crucial role in how stable your kayak is, because fishing kayaks will usually have wider and flatter hulls than most recreational kayaks. The wider hull is going to have more surface area, so it's going to make it a lot harder to tip over that fishing kayak of yours. And most fishing kayaks have the pontoon style hull, mostly because that's going to provide you the best primary stability, which we'll get to in just a moment. For instance, I have a Bonafide P127, has a pontoon style hull. I also have a Native Slayer Propel 10, also has a pontoon style hull. I stand and fish in these things all the time with no issues, but I also have great balance. The next thing that informs the stability of a kayak is the width of the kayak. Essentially, with a wider kayak, you're kind of lowering the center of gravity a bit. You have a lot more surface area and a lot more volume on each side of you, which is going to help to keep you from tipping. This is why you see a lot of DIY videos out there with how to create kind of stabilizers off the side of your kayak, because the wider it is, the more stable it's going to be. So just keep in mind, the wider the kayak is, you're going to sacrifice some maneuverability and speed. Usually not a big deal for kayak anglers. We're not getting in these things to speed around the lake. We're getting in them to fish. We want to make sure that has a stable platform, so when we catch a fish or set a hooks at, we don't fall over in the water. All right, most fishing kayaks are going to have a width of between 32 and 36 inches, but there are some kayaks out there that have a much wider width. Actually, a fan favorite out there for stability comes in at 41 inches. I'll share what that kayak is at the end of this video. All right, so let's move on to the length of the kayak. I don't believe this has a lot to do with the stability of the kayak. It's going to help track better, which means when you paddle or when you pedal, a longer kayak is going to keep a straight line a lot better than a shorter kayak will. Most fishing kayaks range from 10 to 14 feet long. This is a Bonafide P127, which means it's 12 feet 7 inches, and I have a Native Slayer Propel 10, which means it's 10 feet long, but they're both 34 inches wide. What I do notice is that my Bonafide tracks 1,000 times better than my Native Slayer Propel 10. However, the maneuverability and the turning radius is a lot difficult, and it's the opposite. Right? On my Native Slayer Propel 10, I could turn that thing like a boss. However, it doesn't track very well. However, with both of them being 34 inches wide, I don't know it's a huge difference when it comes to stability. All right, another thing that could potentially compromise the stability is the weight capacity of that boat. And so you're really going to think through, what is the weight capacity of the fishing kayak that you were about to buy? It's crucial not to exceed that weight capacity or it's going to compromise your stability. Also keep in mind, if you have a fishing kayak with a weight capacity of 400 pounds, if you put 399 pounds in it, you are not going to be good to go. Generally speaking, you don't want to exceed 70% of that weight capacity. There's actually a term for this. It's called the practical weight capacity. So if I have a fishing kayak that has a 400 pound weight capacity, when I add up myself and all my gear, including the paddle, I don't want to exceed 280 pounds. So do some quick math if you're getting ready to purchase a fishing kayak, and make sure you get one that suits your needs and how much you weigh and how much gear you plan on taking with you. So now let's talk about primary and secondary stability. So primary stability is going to be right when you first step into that kayak and sit down. How stable is that going to be for you? Once again, kayaks with wide hulls and flat bottoms are going to have really great primary stability. These are going to be the majority of the higher end fishing kayaks on the market. The secondary stability measures the kayak stability whenever you're taking a turn or in choppy waters. So typically those kayaks with kind of rounded or V-shaped hulls are going to have really great secondary stability. So the easiest way to remember this is primary stability kind of measures the stability of a kayak whenever it's flat, and the secondary stability measures the stability of that kayak whenever it's tilted. All right, another thing that's going to form the stability of your kayak is whether or not you have foot braces and whether or not you use them, right? So by using the foot braces and having those adjustable, you're going to be able to give yourself leverage to be able to keep that fishing kayak more stable for you when you're fishing. This is really important whenever you're paddling or wherever you're fighting a fish, because a lot of times that is when people end up tipping their kayaks. So ultimately, the best way to make sure your kayak has the best stability is by increasing your balance. And the best way that you're gonna be able to do this is by working out your core muscles. And lastly, let's discuss YouTuber balance. If you could find a fishing kayak with a YouTuber who can hop on it, rock it back and forth without falling in, you have a really stable kayak. I'm leaving this in, by the way. Freaking ridiculous. So if you're looking for one of the most stable kayaks out there on the market, the fan favorite right now is the New Canoe Unlimited. This bad boy comes in at 41 inches wide, which is pretty wide for a fishing kayak on the market. So if you're watching this video, you're likely in the market for a new fishing kayak. And so I got the video for you, 6 tips on choosing the right fishing kayak. You can check that out right there.